Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Risha. I'm with Musical Theatre Productions, and we are very excited to bring you a special reunion of members of the original cast and crew of our 2014 production of Songs for a New World. Say hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
This is so exciting. For some people, I think you guys haven't seen each other in ages, but before we launch into reminiscing and about the show, let's give everybody a chance to go around and introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Angela. I was co-director and musical director of Songs for a New World, and I enjoyed the experience immensely. I had a ridiculously talented group of actors who made my job a lot easier and did an amazing show. It was I had just come off another show and I was pretty tired and I didn't know whether I was going to have enough energy. And then I met all these amazing people and it was like, okay, let's do this thing. This is going to be awesome. So it was great.
How about Nicole? Let's have the other co-director go next.
Sure. Oh, you stole my thunder. Nicole Newell, co-director, first and only time I've ever directed anything. I'm not sure if that's meaningful or not, but I'll just leave that to you to conclude. It was a wonderful experience for me. It was easy in that the cast was so incredibly talented, and working with Ange and Laura, who we've known each other longer than most y'all have been alive, even if you probably added your ages together. So it was a wonderful experience, and it still resonates with me as a very memorable experience. And it is so good to see your gorgeous faces.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Andrea Ferrett, and I was a performer in the show. I had just come off of a break from performing, and I wasn't sure when or how or if I wanted to get back into it. And it had been a little bit of time since I had been in an MTP production since I was 11. So it was like 3 years. And I decided when I saw the title advertised that the show was going to be produced, I decided to audition. And luckily I was chosen as a member of the cast, and I had an absolute blast. It was a great way to come back to London and get back into the theater scene. So I was really grateful that the timing worked out the way that it did.
My name is Brendan Ainscow, aka Steam Train, Steam. Happy to take some time from shooting hoops tonight to join the reunion. My experience with the show was incredible. Working with a ridiculously talented cast and artistic team, I learned so much from every single one of them. This was, I don't know how I managed to fool the team into thinking I was super athletic and got cast as the Steam Train. But it really was an amazing experience. Just loved it. And the reaction we got from the audience doing the show was second to none. It really was something special to experience. So I'm happy to be here today, and it's amazing to see all of you guys again.
Brendan, you're athletic. We made that pass every single night. We never dropped the ball
Fair
once. So, all right, I'll go next. My name's Kyle Stewart. I was a performer as well, and I was super honored to be part of this cast. I had been in the London area for about a year and a half before that, and I remember just going in, and there was a lot of time meeting a lot of these people and just thinking, wow, like they're at this caliber, like why am I here? Like this is the best of the best in London, and it was such an honor. And I've done many shows since, but just the raw talent within that show is something I'll always remember.
Hi, my name is Laura, and I was producer and choreographer for the show. And this show was extremely special for a lot of reasons, but first and foremost, it reminded me what a family this group is. I count many of you as my closest friends, and I just love you all.
And Laura making everyone cry. Here we go.
It was bound to happen.
Kate Deman. I was in the cast of Songs for a New World as well. Songs for a New World was about 3 years into my MTP journey, so I was still kind of new within the company, and one of the youngest ones, I think, in the cast. I don't think I was the youngest, but one of the youngest ones in the cast, and like just in awe of the talent surrounding me, of kind of the older, more experienced people like was so amazing. That's probably my favorite part, was seeing these people who were like so experienced and well known in our theater community. Like I was what a learning experience I found the whole thing to be, and I've just continued to do MTP ever since.
Almost every show as well.
Yeah, pretty much. I try.
I'm Julia Webb. I was also a cast member, and it had been, I don't know, a handful of years since I'd done musical theater, so it was a real joy to become part of this one. And like everyone else is saying, the artistic team and the entire cast was just so talented and committed. And what I mostly enjoyed, I think, was the fact that every single person involved in this show brought their whole top game to every single rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so stimulating because everybody was on and prepared and collaborative, and you know, the amount of cheering each other on was just beautiful. So it was a real joy, the entire experience.
My name is Braeden Soltys. I was a performer and a producer on the Kickstarter that we had for this as well. It was my third show with MTP, and it was a very interesting year for me because I'd kind of been ready to leave the industry altogether, and then got back into doing theater through MTP by doing the whole season, and songs was kind of the capping of that year of me falling in love with theater again. And then at the end of it, I went off to school to study it. So songs has a very, very special place for me for that, and all of you as well.
That's actually an interesting segue, because I was just finishing school when I did Songs for New World. I only did 2 shows with MTV while I was in London because I didn't discover them until my last year, but I was a performer in songs and I absolutely loved it. My personal highlight has to have been Angela's very patient manner with me while I was practicing my journeyman drumming. I have never before and never since played drums on stage in front of an audience. So thank all of you. And Christina. Christina, who had to be accompanied for that sewing song by the snare drum. Oh my!
Right.
The anxiety I would feel about that was far more than singing the high notes.
Well, you did a great job.
Hi, I'm Ferrett, and I was part of the cast for Songs for a New World. So it was my second MTP show and my 4th ever musical, and yeah, it was amazing.
I'm Chris Wood. Not only am I a performer in the show, but I'm also married to the producer. So let's just put that out there right now.
Nepotism.
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 Also, at the time of the show, I was also a board member of MTP, and had been for a few years up until that point. I think the show was one of the highlights of my performing career thus far on the amateur stage with MTP. It was the first time I'd been in a show where where a piece of the cast I had worked with before, a piece of the cast I'd never worked with before, and there was another piece of the cast who I've known these people for a while, but I've never had a chance to perform with them before. And that kind of made the whole thing kind of special in a whole different kind of way. I think this show, being as unique as it was, will pretty much, I think, represent quite what MTP stands for. A unique set of people coming together for the same cause. And I think that's the way this show will be remembered as we live through it again.
Well said, well said. So one of my first questions is, how many people were familiar with the show Songs for a New World before being a part of this production? So a number of people, what was the general impression of the show when it was announced that MTP was going to do Songs for a New World?
It was so exciting. Like this was like Jason Robert Brown. The music was cool. It was like, yeah, it was wicked. I was super stoked when I heard about it.
Wicked's another show, Braeden. Wicked is another show.
Well, the
I
rights
have
are
to
available to that
agree.
one.
I was really happy they were doing something so modern. I mean, hard to get a full crowd for something like Unauthorized Biography of Samantha Brown, but Songs for a New World, we could fill that little theater. It was great. It's an edgy choice.
And was there anyone who wasn't familiar with Songs for a New World before this production? What was it like going into it not knowing it?
I did some research before, but it was my first introduction to Jason Robert Brown, and it hooked me for life.
Yeah, I knew the show a little bit as well, and it was there was a couple of songs I was familiar with beforehand, but one of the toughest things after I became more familiar as we started rehearsing was being able to explain to people what the show was about. That took a while to, it's about that moment where, it's, and just, trying to come up with the best way to tell people, especially family members and things like that, what the show was about, that it wasn't just one single story.
I believe it was one of the first real sort of like concept musicals, or at least one of the first really prevalent ones. I mean, other shows like Company also were more concept based, but there's more an inherent storyline and through characters to that one, whereas this is much more episodic. Mm-hmm. What was your experience like with it, Julia?
I was completely unfamiliar with it at first. And like Sarah, I went and listened and did some research on the background and stuff. And one of the most delightful things was listening to the soundtrack and hearing those harmonies. And I thought, oh, that's going to be fun. And I loved that the production team had decided to cast 20 people instead of 4, because it just would make it so rich. And I was just really looking forward to being part of that chorus, being able to sing those beautiful, beautiful, rich harmonies.
Nice, and that's a great segue, bringing that up again to the team members. What was the driving force behind expanding the cast beyond the original 4 that it's written for?
Well, I didn't know the show either, and we, Chris and Laura and I happened to be at the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland and seeing everything we possibly could. And we went to a production of this, and it was the first time I heard it, and I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it. And so when we came here, honestly, I love a big sound, and I love that big harmony, and I think it is inherent to what we do to include as many and as much variety in people that we have come in audition as possible. And this is the type of show you can do that for. It was so wonderful to kind of be able to, oh, okay, yeah, Brendan will be great at that song. And oh, let's give Braeden that. And Julia's got the Mrs. Claus thing on lock. And then we've got, right? So the people you didn't know and the people you did know, through the rehearsal process, you could see their strengths and you could see where they would shine. And so that's how you kind of formulated, and just the sheer, I'm missing that right now, the sheer energy and beauty and power of being in a room with lots of voices and lots of harmony lifted up in song. There's an energy and an electricity to that I have to say I'm really missing now. So thinking back to that electricity of every bloody rehearsal we ever did, and hearing it again in my mind, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
I can't imagine hearing anyone else sing the songs that the cast sang in that show. Like it was amazing the way that everyone just took that song, their song, because everyone kind of had a song and or a bit of a song, and then all the group numbers, like everyone had their song and made that song theirs. I just, listening to the cast album, like, that doesn't sound right. That's really weird. Why isn't it, Sarah? Where's Braeden?
So yeah, seeing it in Scotland, I mean, we saw it with 4 people and we loved it with 4 people, but now, no, I mean, I had the privilege of just sitting in the audience watching every night with 20 of some of the most talented people in London at the time. And I can't imagine it any other way now. it was such a perfect way to tell so many different stories.
Then there was also the added element of cast members playing instruments. It was like way on the forefront. This was before Once, I think, was even a thing. Am I right? And what was the driving force behind that? Or what was the inspiration behind that?
No, we couldn't afford a band. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's true, but
no, there was this version that I had seen a little while ago where they played their own instruments, and that was something that I had in my head. And then if you put too much orchestration and too much background against all these beautiful vocal harmonies, they get lost. Everything gets muddy. So just to have a piano and then intersperse it with, I always think of those different instruments as color, and every song just needed a bit of a different color. Everything just needed a bit of something, and you didn't need a lot, but what the cast brought to that. Here's what was great is they were open to it. I'm like, hey, you over there, here's your spoons. Hey, you, here's your accordion. Like, everybody just kind of went, okay, sure, if you think I can do it, okay, fine. Josh is like, okay, I'll try, it'll be fine. And they just did it because they're amazingly talented humans.
And what was the experience like for the cast members having an instrument thrust at you in rehearsal and be like, here, play this for this song?
Well, I had a drum set in my loft space because my roommate at the time was at Fanshawe for recording arts. And so the two of us threw in on a drum set so we could play with each other, just so we could both start learning drums. So it was sort of a serendipitous event. I'd only moved in with them maybe a year before that. And we probably didn't buy the drums until maybe 8 months before songs began. So it was just lucky happenstance that I had spent some time with drumsticks in my hand at that point. It was anxiety creating.
I gotta say, I got to play my favorite instrument of all time, the melodica, and which was a flashback to when back in my Forever Plaid days when I got to play melodica. And of course, it was in like the best song ever for Miss Julia was singing her number. It was just, I got to play and observe what was going on stage, which was just fantastic.
Wonderful. There it is.
There it is.
Oh my goodness. For the people involved, what was your favorite number in the show, whether you were in it or watching it, or what was your favorite moment every night?
I'm so ready for this question.
Me too.
So ready to answer. I think the On the Deck of the Sailing Spanish Ship was like the most amazing. Yeah. I just loved that number. It was so powerful and beautiful, and it was like right near the beginning of the show too. And it was just like, I mean, like I'm a little biased. I got to have a little bit of a moment in it, which I love to do every single night. And Jordan Henry sounded incredible, like such an amazing number for him. Mm-hmm. And I think it being right near the beginning too, it was like just like a wall of sound for the audience right at the beginning to be like buckle up, here we go. Like this is going to be a powerhouse of a show. And that was probably one of my favorite moments.
If I can add to that too, definitely the first two songs were my favorite. And I remember, if you guys remember, there was one performance where we finished and there was a quick kind of, as soon as we finished the song, it was like, bam, wall of sound, like you said. And then quick silence. And then one lady in the audience went, oh my God. And then applause afterwards. It was like, you could just tell the audience just loved every single moment of it, right? And it was like that chills moment, I think on both sides, from our side and from the audience side. So
I was gonna bring up that moment as well, Brendan. It's just, that's something that's never happened to me in another show. I've never seen happen in another show. Like the fact that that moment before there was the clap, there was just an audience member is so much in awe that they couldn't hold it in. They had to exacerbate it. And it was just in that perfect stillness right when we finished before the applause.
Yeah.
I feel like too, On the Deck of a Spanish Sailing Ship, we worked on that. I felt like it was one of the first songs we started working on, and it was so challenging. Those harmonies were so tough, and we split into so many groups. And the one thing that Ange touched on that reverberated through the whole show, but I just remember in this song, we literally just worked note by note by note to get these harmonies clear and tight. And there was never a moment where anybody gave up or anybody was like, I can't do this. This is too hard. This is like that. Jason Robert Brown is not for the faint of heart to learn. It is like insanity. And I just remember cranking out that song rehearsal after rehearsal. And just by the time we got to do it under lights and with the emotion of everything, it was really such a victory for the cast to get that reaction, which was utter silence from the crowd, because it was such a challenging intro into the show, those first two numbers. And I just remember thinking, like, if this cast can get together and do these harmonies for this song, we've got this, no problem. Like, and we really enjoyed working through the hard stuff, which that reflected in that song big time.
I
Awesome.
also really liked Flying Home. Just
Yeah.
Flying
Yeah.
Home is also a great number. That's
Yeah.
one of the ones that's always stuck with me from this show ever. And it was the one that we included in our retrospective cabaret for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And we got to have Adam come back and sing it again. And that was just such a great moment. And some of the same cast members were there as well in that, because Andrea, you were in that as well.
Now we reused the same choreo. Laura, shout out. It was great. That's just way, yeah, it was good.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, that one for me too. That moment of Christina being downstage and holding that flag, and Adam walking out in the fatigues. Two different moments in time, two different wars, but exactly the same feeling, right? Like it was a big one for me too.
That's what I was gonna say. That transition between Flagmaker to Flying Home was like chills, like every night. What a brilliant idea, and it was just beautiful. I love that.
And to go a riff on this theme a little bit more, what number or moment in the show is everyone most looking forward to seeing again?
It's so hard to narrow down because every time I think of one, like the solos or the duets or the small group numbers, whatever, right? Every time I think of one, I think, oh, and there's that one, right? And it leads me to remember something else. But for me, I'm just looking forward to being reminded of the whole show, right? And see everything. There wasn't a false moment. It felt like it wasn't a weak moment. So everything is so good.
Yeah, I think that I think that's exactly how it'll be. It'll be like, oh, that was so good. And oh yeah, that one was good too. But I am really looking forward to seeing you again, Julia. That was one of my highlights.
Such a good
I want to see
You
the
in that
costume.
Santa, Mrs. Claus costume, draped across the piano. Oh my God, on point.
Best costume ever.
I'm looking forward to seeing Liz Van Dorn, who we lost.
Yeah.
That was a show that we were very happy to be able to cast her in while she was still in good enough health to do it. And she was wonderful in it. So I know that I will be shedding a tear when I see her on my screen on Wednesday.
Yeah,
And I know that show was a highlight for her. I think she loved every minute of that show. It was probably a bit of a departure from a lot of shows that she'd done. And yeah, a real challenge for her. And she loved every minute of it.
And we also will be remembering the performance on Wednesday will be dedicated to the memories of Elizabeth Van Dorn and Leslie Turner, who worked on the show as well.
Yeah, Leslie did costumes for us.
You did, yeah.
Absolutely.
And photography and armchair note giver. Once we got into the theater, she was another set of eyes because she had she was a great director as well. So she was a jack of all trades.
He also gave me pregnancy walk lessons.
And you know why? Because Leslie and I were in Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, and she played Edna Louise, and that woman was pregnant. She was 11 months pregnant. And if anybody could teach her a pregnancy walk, it would be Leslie Turner.
Yeah, she gave me lessons on how to walk and how to sit down and all that kind of stuff. We did little lessons backstage. It was a great memory.
I'm really excited to hear the build in Spanish Sailing Ship, that like build of harmony and harmony. It's still the highest, Braeden might be able to correct me. I'm pretty sure it is the highest note any man is expected to sing in the music theater repertoire, short of Gethsemane.
I've not
Short of Gethsemane.
I've not seen anything remotely close to that amount of ledger lines since.
It was you and me, right? On that double high F?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure the Gethsemane high G is the only thing higher.
God love you both.
That's what I'm excited for.
Well, that segues me well into my next question, which is, what was the most challenging part about the show for you? So I'm hearing some range challenges. I'm hearing lots of talk about the harmonies. Anything else, or anything anyone wants to expand on those ideas?
It was more, which costume do I have to put on next?
That's always a challenge for Chris.
It's always a challenge. And it's always like, okay, where do I go next? What do I do next? There was just through the whole rehearsal process of just trying to plot out in my head what I'm doing next, where I'm going next, who's on next, who am I after, who am I with, was a big challenge. But, you know, when you see the final result, it's like, piece of cake.
My challenge was, oh God, I'm on stage left. I shouldn't be on stage left. There's no way to get out of stage left. I'm trapped. Somebody just walked in on us changing on stage left. I don't know what's happening. That was fun.
That was right. I forgot.
Right, because for this production, we took down all of the drapes in the theater, so there was no crossover anymore. There was a pathway, but there was no way to go and not
There was
be
a
seen.
very small pathway. But yeah, if you got stuck on stage left, like I had a book, I had like a picnic basket just in case I got trapped.
Speaking of props, Miss Andrea,
yes,
and challenges on stage about, oh, who's going to slip a note in my lunchbox that I have to read and not react to every single night.
That was a secret note.
Yeah, no secret notes. Yeah.
Secret.
Speaking of props, my challenge was learning how to use a basketball as a prop, twirling it on my finger. And I remember at the time I was living just near the Western Fair, so it was about 3.5 kilometers from where we were rehearsing. And I used to walk, and I would dribble the basketball all the way home, practice spinning the ball on my finger, and behind and between my legs and all of that stuff to get myself comfortable with it. But Kyle, I think we did well.
We did do well, yeah. And a challenge for me was, I like to think I'm a tenor. I think Angela likes to think I'm a tenor. And King of the World should be sung by a tenor. So I remember there was a few times where, because everyone was hitting their notes so flawlessly, I remember talking to Nicole once, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't, like, this song's too hard. And I remember her sitting me down and just being like, well, we picked you. Like, when we heard you, we knew you could do it, and we didn't give anybody a song that they couldn't do. So you just have to believe that you do it. And I think that was the first time I started feeling confident about that song, because, I mean, maybe Ange can confirm, I mean, it was also a beast to play on the piano. So, yeah.
Oh my God. If I had to pick one challenge, it would be Kyle's freaking song. That thing was a beast. That thing was a beast.
Just page one or the whole thing?
Yeah.
I was going to say, butterdum, bum, bum. I'm like, okay. But that intro was a beast.
I'm like,
The only thing you could hear above everything was Ange's page turns.
I needed another hand. What I needed was like the playing hand and then the, hey, turn pages hand. But no, I ripped more pieces of paper off the floor in that show. I was like, wing, oh, frig. And like, oh, there it is. Okay. Well.
Oh, I forgot that. You totally ripped pages off. And like they went, sometimes they did not stay anywhere like associated with the piano.
No. And so it was like, okay, let's see how well I know this page that I flung over there somewhere. Yeah.
So my next question is, how did you folks get to be involved with musical theater productions?
I put on a dress and I played a girl and a flamboyant reverend in a little show called Bad Boy.
Oh, yes, you did. And you were great in that too. I remember listening to you say, you came in for auditions, I didn't know who you were, and you left and I went, who the hell is that?
See, I was still living in Chatham, but I knew I was moving to London in a month. So when I saw that this company was putting on Bad Boy, I was like, yeah, I heard that. And that's a funky show. I'll come out and audition. So yeah, like you guys were the first, and yeah,
Kate, was that your first too? No.
No. So my first MTP show was White Christmas. That was actually my third. So White Christmas was my first MTP show 9 years ago. I was in high school, and my high school drama teacher was directing the show, so just invited us to come out and audition. And so I'd never done community theater outside of high school. I'd never done theater outside of high school, really. So I auditioned for White Christmas. I sung 14G, which was an awful audition song at 17 years old. Just awful, but I just wanted to show off. And then I kind of haven't stopped since, because then I did Seussical the next year with some of you guys, and then Bat Boy was my first MTP show auditioning for that I didn't know anybody auditioning, and I didn't know anybody on the team, and I was terrified. But I remember seeing you, Ange, and so then after really those seasons, it's just been nonstop really ever since, and now I have been in almost every season and I'm on the board, so pretty much stuck with me.
My first show with MTP was South Pacific in 91. Is that, I know, Ange is laughing. And
we were the same age, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I did South Pacific in 1991, and I got involved in that because I saw Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at Beale when they did it, and I was like, I want to do that. How do you do that? And my mom saw the audition call in the newspaper, because that's where you used to read them, and I went and I auditioned with the opener from Joseph as the narrator, because that's the only musical theater song I knew, and I was cast in South Pacific as the little girl Nagana. And then my next show with MTP was Songs for a New World in 2014. I did some stuff in between, but yeah, that was my and then I've done some more since with MTP.
And Ange and Laura, I think you two have been with the organization the longest, because Angela, you were in the first show, Evita, and Laura, I believe you were in the second show, 42nd Street, right?
Yeah, Angela wins, but
for being oldest, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I win that one.
Oh yeah, it was Evita in 1988, and I just came to an audition as a fluke, and when I look back at how many MTV shows that I've actually been involved in some capacity, either in them or directing them or musically directing them, it's an organization that is near and dear to my heart. I've met some of the people I love the most in life in MTP shows, and I look forward to another 20 years when I get to play all the grandmother parts.
Yeah, I started with MTP, their second show, back when it was LMT, with 42nd Street. Went to Toronto for a few years and came back and did, I think Pajama Game was my next show with MTP with Angela and Nicole. I'm looking around. I think it was
95, 97?
95 or 94?
I think that was 95, I think. Something like that. No, 94, I think. Because then I met Chris in Guys and Dolls in 95, something like that. Yeah, done a whole bunch, and then eventually started to choreograph and produce, and I haven't been on stage since.
We can fix that.
It would take a lot. I think it would take a lot to get me back on stage.
I have
drinks anyway.
When anything goes, you're looking adorable. So, and Julia, I have pictures of you.
Oh yeah, Julia and I in Anything Goes. But I've known Julia forever. I used to teach her daughter ballet when her daughter was knee-high to a grasshopper.
This big, yeah.
Yeah, I've known Julia forever and ever. Admired her for so long. So it was so exciting to. I think Songs for a New World was one of the first shows I've actually been on the artistic team while she was on the while she was in the cast. But yeah,
but Anything Goes was so fun. I'm trying to remember what my first MTP, which was LMT, I think it might have been Sweet Charity.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I was in that as well with you.
Yeah Dance Hall Girls.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but yeah, some of the most fun I've had on stage has certainly been with MTP, LMT, because I think I did Sweet Charity and Pal Joey and Company, and Anything Goes, which was so much fun. Dance chorus, all that Cole Porter music and all the tapping and carrying on. That was amazing.
So Songs for a New World, as we were discussing a little bit earlier before, was the close of our MTP's 25th anniversary season after Oklahoma and Gypsy. And it was actually the year where MTP almost closed its doors for good. We had found ourselves in a financial situation where we were unsure if we were going to be able to keep going as an organization. And it was actually announced at one point that Gypsy was going to be the last show and we were going to have to cancel the production of Songs for a New World that was planned. As team members and cast members involved, do you remember what that experience was like, finding out that this show almost wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, it sucked.
I think Laura and Ange and I probably have post-traumatic syndrome still from that.
I still twitch a little. This question is making me twitch just a little bit. I have to actually credit Braeden, because he was kind of one of the ones for me who made me feel like there was still such an engagement in the community for this group. And he was really the force behind a Kickstarter campaign that we did. On top of that, we were very fortunate to have some very generous donations for some of our costs for Gypsy, which when all was said and done made us realize we were still sort of treading water and that there was still a little bit of hope. And we were really looking at some theater rental costs that had gone up substantially, and so we knew we were moving into McManus, and which was a different venue for us, and there was just a little bit of hope of, well, maybe we can still make a go of this. But yeah, I really have to credit Braeden for that, because honestly, he just has so much energy and so much positivity that this could happen that I believed him.
Oh, good.
And let's just face it. We didn't have any idea what Kickstarter even was.
No.
Thank God the youngins were around.
Yeah, that sounds great. Go for it.
Yeah. People give you money? Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I just knew that like I was so grateful to have this community or this company to kind of have a creative outlet and just in a kind of family outside of family. And I know I'd only been there for 2 shows before then, but I knew that there was such a community around it and had been for a while that it was heartbreaking to me that it was in danger. So I didn't have much else going on. I wasn't in school. I had a lot of spare time on my hands. So lots of research was done, and I thought it was an interesting idea.
And it proved to be a successful one as well, because we not only met our goal with the Kickstarter campaign, we exceeded it.
Yeah.
And we were able the show was able to continue on, as we all know, having lived through that experience. But it was such a great opportunity to see what perseverance can do and what being a part of a group can do to help us and to help everyone to see how when we can band together, we can still make things happen. And that's sort of in the spirit of why we're all gathered here this evening, with so many arts organizations falling on troubled times right now due to the pandemic and being unable to perform live or do any of the normal fundraising or events or things that they do to keep their organizations going. That's why companies, big and small, are having to regroup and come up with new opportunities to engage performers, to engage audiences. And that's what we're doing here tonight with Songs for a New World. And we really want to encourage all of our viewers out there to take some time and consider if there's anything they can do to help support the arts. And I'm encouraging support of all arts organizations that you know or are aware of. If MTP can be a part of that, we'd be greatly appreciated. You can visit our website, mtplondon.ca, to make a donation. every little bit will help keep us going so that we can hopefully come out on the other side of all of this and be able to return to the stage, which is our home, as so many people are calling, and get back to our family that we're all missing right now. How has being a part of community theater influenced your life?
Well, for me, I don't think I would be in theater right now if it weren't for MTP. I think for me, it was kind of a lifesaver personally. I was in a not so great point, and had it not been for MTP specifically, and I guess community theater at large, I don't think I would have continued on afterwards without it. So yeah, it's very special to me in that way.
Yeah, I have to echo that. I had become a little bit jaded with the experiences I had with opera because of the sort of institutional political drama that comes along with it. And working with MTP made me remember why I loved performing and remember why I loved being a part of theater. And the people that I've met doing opera have been much more like the people I met at MTP than the people that annoyed me when I was studying opera. The people who are working in the industry are so much more like the family that I found at MTP that, you know, I mean, I was there for one season, but everybody was so welcoming and so, it's hard to put into words. I've tried to explain it in various letters of intent to different arts organizations, but doing Oklahoma after spending years stuck in school and doing operas changed a lot for me, and it's the reason I think it's the part of the reason at least that I'm still in theater now. So I agree wholeheartedly.
You were terrific in Oklahoma.
Thank you. I still love that show, but there's not enough high notes for me to use it for auditions. It's too bad.
Yeah, and for me, I was introduced to theater as a kid through MTP. That was my first time on stage. I think in South Pacific, I was on stage for 7 minutes total, but that led me to know that was the only place I ever wanted to be, and which led me to go on to train to do music theater, and then led me to a professional career doing it. And then it came full circle back to me coming back to London and wanting to still balance family life and work and do all that, but still do theater. And that's what's so amazing about MTP is literally you get into a show and you're like, this schedule, like I have all this stuff. Yeah, just great. You're in, come on, be a part of it. And that's what's so great about it.
For me, I didn't, I obviously don't do theater for a living or anything like that, but I had originally gone to school when I was in high school and went to Sheridan with the intent to do theater, and kind of decided that, my heart, I followed a bit more a path in business, but MTP specifically has given me an opportunity to still do something that I love to do for fun, and it's been such a huge, for me, a stress reliever. It's been great to have, just a hobby that I get to do. And I've met some incredible people doing it with MTP. I had done Bye Bye Birdie and Seussical prior to doing Songs for a New World, and just met some of the most incredible people that I'm still in touch with today. And some of them, were part of my wedding recently. And it really is such an amazing family feeling. And I just love that. And I look forward to, when I'm back in London again, being able to participate in more.
Well, I'll just mirror what he said too. Like it's where you find your family and it's where you find your friends, because half of my wedding party is also I met through theater, through MTP, and Brendan's going to be one of the MCs at my reception that hopefully I'll have my wedding next year. So we'll see.
There's so many couples that are married that are MTP people too. So there's Chris and I'm going to miss people. I shouldn't list them, but Angela and Sam. At least get those two couples, but there's so many. Rick and Kathy, Sue and Wade, many couples.
Community theater for me, because I've been fortunate enough because I came to teaching quite late. I've been fortunate enough to be able to work professionally in some elements and as in community productions. And it's not about the level of talent. God, I know talented people, and they're in community theater. It doesn't make them less talented because they're not in professional theater. We do this for a love, for how it feeds our soul. And for me, I'm lucky enough that I've been able to do it for a lot of decades because I'm 107. And no, and now I'm able to bring my students into it and introduce them and get them to audition and have them being a band and da, 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 da. And for me, theater's what's going to save the world. That idea of being in someone else's shoes, the idea of experiencing something through someone else's eyes is what the world desperately needs. And theater will save us if we let it, and if we can get back and communicate again.
Wonderful. So that sort of leads me into my last final question is, for all of us who are part of the theater world, how does it feel right now with all of the theaters being dark and being unable to go back to that home and to see these friends and family that we've made through theater? How does that feel right now?
Nicole, go ahead. It sucks.
It is hard. It's heart-wrenching. You know, I'm on the board with a few people here too, trying to think about, you know, ourselves, the MTP, the survival, how to get through, and at the same time thinking about all the professional people that are out of work. Is just, it's painful. It's so hard to watch. And then, you know, you see the reactions of people when, for example, Hamilton gets released, like people are freaking out, absolutely freaking out. And I don't know about you guys, I've probably already watched it 3 times, and usually I'm drunk and crying during the whole thing. That's my gig. But just like the powerful emotion, but not being able to sit in a theater and not being able to get together with all of these dear friends on my screen, which are, you know, about 1/10 of all the other friends that we know from this community, is so hard. And I can't even imagine being able to sit in a theater right now and feel that energy and that love of seeing your friends and even people you don't even know up on stage doing this. It's just, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I feel like I'm kicking myself because I had the immense pleasure of, on March 13th at the Grand Theater, seeing Room, which was the last day they did it, which was probably like one of the last live theater performances in London, that I didn't like soak up every single minute of that experience of like the smell of my playbill and the sitting in the seat. Like, I obviously enjoyed every second of the performance, but not just like realizing that this would be the last live production I would have seen for who knows how long. I wish I had kind of savored every moment of that a little bit more. It has been really heartbreaking and really sad, but I've been really enjoying seeing the new ideas people are coming up with, like, you know, like tonight, like this performance of Songs for a New World, and the live, the different like online productions, and the, you know, Stars in the House, like we were talking about. I've also been really inspired by what I've been seeing, and people being innovative and the new things that our performers have been doing since being out of work. So it's been kind of a weird hopefulness as well that I've been seeing, that I've been really enjoying.
I'm going to totally support what Kate's saying. It's so wonderful to see the innovation. It is a real delight to see the creativity that creative people exercise. And at the same time, it really makes me appreciate how important live theater and live performance is, because there is absolutely no substitute for breathing the same air and feeling the energy live from theatrical or performances of music, live music. There is no substitute, and I'm really aware of the loss of that right now. And like Nicole, I can't wait to get in the room with people and share an experience as an audience in theater, when you're, as I said, breathing the same air, you're in the same energy. And it's such a collective community experience when it's live. And I think that, you know, those of us who go see things or perform are feeling that in our souls, definitely. And I'm going to be so happy when we can get back to doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have to say, as March rolled by and thing after thing was canceled, postponed and further postponed. It really, really shook me in a way I didn't expect. I thought I was sort of resilient to life's up and downs, given some of the things that have happened in my life. But this was, I mean, I'm sure for everybody, a complete upending of what I thought could happen. Seeing companies that had full houses go under and we don't know if they'll come back, indie companies. It was a really, really rough couple of months. But as people are starting to transition to online and creating stuff that people can view at their pleasure, I mean, I can't help but see it as an opportunity, but it's missing something, you know? Julia's right, we can't do it the same way without being in the same place and breathing the same air. It's not going to be the same till we can get back, but until we can, I'm glad we have this alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The stuff that's going to be, like, the first few shows back are going to be some of the most electric performances I think there's ever been. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And I know MTP's cast of Joseph is just chomping at the bit to be able to have a chance to come back and present that show that was on the verge of being able to open. It was literally going to open the following week or 2 weeks later. And we got that announcement. And I mean, I feel like Kate can speak to that.
I don't know if I can talk about it without crying, but we literally had done a full run, like a full off-book run. We had our costume parade and then we were shut down. Like that was our last, like I remember leaving the costume parade and Lisa, our stage manager, being like, okay, everybody, don't forget to take everything out from the space because we're not going to come back here. The next rehearsal, we're going to be in the theater. I had gone the next day to the mall because I was like, we were providing our own, like I was providing my own costume piece. So I was like shopping out for my piece, texting Nicola. We were talking about like, ooh, maybe we'll show up in a different costume for the finale, like this whole thing. And then just blindsided, like we never would have expected that this what was going to happen with such a magical show. And we're just on the edge of our seats, ready to get back to it whenever we can. Soon, hopefully soon. Fingers crossed.
It's definitely heartbreaking to see, and I mean, I think you guys are right that everybody is going to remember their first show that they're able to go to again forever. It's going to be a magic because it's just going to be, you know, the energy that we all felt being on stage and doing this show. It's going to be 100 times that, I think, because
you like being a kid again almost.
Exactly right, but it's definitely really inspiring though, and really encouraging. You know, performers have to perform, and they're going to find a way to perform. And it's been so inspiring finding, you know, Ange, watching you with your kids, you know, and seeing, you know, the Zoom performances and, you know, being able to do this, like, you know, I think it's just so inspiring. I don't know about you guys, I didn't even put on pants today. So, you know, joke.
Do you ever put on pants?
But no, it's definitely inspiring to see how resilient the industry is. And, you know, everyone's just going to be able to look back on this and say, remember the days when we were doing Zoom performances, right? It's
crazy.
Well, and now MTP is doing the quarantine story, so.
Yeah, which is a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Our first ever digital version of a cabaret being put together with people. I believe we even have some people outside of London who have been MTP alumni and so actually have an opportunity to be in a show even though they don't live in London anymore, which is a new and exciting opportunity, and coming together and getting to explore memorable songs from shows, but under this new theme of isolation and being together but apart and hoping to find new ways of connecting. And I think it's going to be a really exciting thing, and we're really excited to bring that forward in November.
And a little spoiler, there may or may not be a Songs for a New World song in that show. So if you like Songs for a New World, check out Quarantine Story.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It was so wonderful to have you all. I wish you all the best. And if you're interested in keeping productions like these going in the future, please consider donating to musical theater productions at mtplondon.ca.